Today, we'll show you 5 things that Kevin De Bruyne does all the time. 5 things that help him dominate the pitch. You're watching AllAttack.
Crossing between the defense and the goalkeeper. When a ball is crossed behind defenders, they often have a hard time dealing with it.
This is because when you play the ball behind the defensive line, it forces those defenders to run toward their own goal. And when you're running toward your own goal, it's pretty difficult to keep track of the player that you're supposed to be marking. Also, if they reach out to try and stop the cross, there's a pretty good chance they could end up putting it in their own net. This is why you see a lot of defenders hesitate to cut out these crosses. Now, of course, De Bruyne is the master of this skill, and the reason he's that good is the speed and accuracy with which he can hit these crosses. See, you could cross the ball into the same area that De Bruyne does, but if you don't have that much pace on the cross, the defenders and goalkeeper will cut it out easily. But if you can hit that cross with speed, the defenders will struggle to reach it, and the goalkeeper will stay on their line. To hit a ball with that kind of curve and power, use the area between the inside of your foot and your laces, and strike along the edge of the ball. And if you want to be as good as De Bruyne at this technique, you're going to have to practice for many, many years to even get close.
Moving wide. De Bruyne is primarily a central midfielder, or an attacking midfielder. And yet, he often finds himself out wide, in a similar position to a winger. Sometimes he does this by overlapping a teammate. Sometimes he'll underlap a teammate. And sometimes he'll just kind of drift out wide.
But the key here is that he's not just running to the wing whenever he wants. He moves wide when there's space to exploit. Now, we should mention that he's able to do this because it's part of the way that Man City play. Guardiola looks for ways, tactically, to get De Bruyne in these positions because he knows he's an incredible crosser. So before you start doing this in a game with your team, you might want to make sure your coach is okay with their midfielder wandering wide.
Multiple changes of direction. When De Bruyne beats players 1v1, he often does it by changing direction twice. He does this by starting to cut one direction. Then, when the defender moves, he'll drag the ball past the defender the other way.
I think one of the reasons he does this is because of his acceleration, or the lack of it. Don't get me wrong, De Bruyne isn't slow, but he's not like Raheem Sterling, who can often beat players with just pure quickness. So, because De Bruyne is a somewhat medium-speed player, at least by Premier League standards, he compensates by really faking the defender, getting them to move completely the wrong direction. Then, he has more time to accelerate past them. So, if you're someone with average speed, this might be a way you could potentially beat someone one-on-one.
Positioning between the lines.
One thing De Bruyne and other great midfielders do is move between the lines to receive the ball. When teams defend, there's often space between the midfield line and the defensive line. Players like De Bruyne take advantage of this space by moving into it, while at the same time, making sure there's a passing lane between themselves and their teammate. This allows them to receive the ball in space, so they can turn and move the attack forward. It may seem simple, but in a match, defensive lines are constantly shifting, and gaps between defenders are always changing. So a player with great movement must always be adapting and finding where the space is.
Shooting with both feet.
There are few players who are as good as De Bruyne with both feet. He can shoot with power with both feet, he can shoot with finesse with both feet. And although he's right-footed, when he's shooting, it can sometimes be hard to tell. The truth is, the only way to become great with both feet is practice. When you go to practice your shots, you should, at the very least, work on both feet evenly. And if your weak foot is really weak, you should really be working on that foot more than your stronger leg. You don't necessarily need an amazing weak foot to be a good player, but as De Bruyne proves, it's an incredibly valuable asset to have. And let's be honest, we'd all be better players if we were equally strong with both feet.
All right, everybody, make sure to leave a like, make sure to subscribe, and make sure to check out these other videos from AllAttack.